Fran, is this the best performance your team's put together all year?
You know, I think if you look at how well we played, excuse me, at both ends.
What about the job Marble and Ogilvy did on Stauskas?
They were locked in defensively. They had some help. I thought we did a much better job on ball screen action than we did when we were up there. I mean, I think you have to against them. They do so many different things with ball screens and space and dribble lats. You know, we were pretty much, you know, locked into collectively going after Stauskas. But I think, you know, your point about Dev is a good one. You know, it's very difficult to go get 26 in a game like this, and at the same time guard the other team's best player. It's one of the reasons why we didn't put him on him up there. You know, I didn't want to do that to him. I didn't want to get him in foul trouble. But I just said, you know, Dev, you got to go get him. You got to do it at both ends. And when he does that, I think it has great impact on everyone else's energy, everybody else's performance. I thought collectively, I mean, I think to a man, I mean, everybody I put in the game played well.
See,
go ahead.
was Dev's performance the type of performance that you look for out of him, and also just in general out of a player?
Well, you know, I think more importantly, he looks for it out of himself. I mean, he has very high expectation for himself. He's, you know, a tremendous leader. He doesn't, you know, there's never a hangover with him if he doesn't play well or if he has an off night. He just comes right back to work, and he's incredibly professional that way. And again, that has great impact on how we prepare and how we, you know, bounce back from a difficult defeat. Because, you know, you come to practice the next day, nobody wants to watch the film, and, you know, nobody really wants to go through it. But it's okay. We're moving on. What do we got to do to beat Michigan? Let's go. And he was really good in terms of his leadership there.
Grant,
With
can you talk about the defense your team played in light of the way they played the second half the other night? Play defense the way they did the entire game tonight.
We felt like, I mean, to beat Michigan, you have to play the kind of defense that we played. They have so many different weapons. You know, so it was not only, you know, getting stops, it was getting stops and then running. Again, offensive opportunities in transition, and not giving them seconds. I mean, they killed us with second shots up there. And we were essentially trading baskets and get down to the end, and they scored at the end and we didn't, and they won. So as you know, we get stops, we can get run out opportunities, and then we have, you know, we have a chance to, you know, to get a lead extended.
Mike gets you 10.
Your most efficient first halves I've seen. I think 9 out of 10 of your first baskets had assists. What did it say about your transition, the way Gazelle was able to run it? Yeah, this talent.
Mike's been just getting better game by game. You can see it. Obviously, in the 2 losses we had here at home against 2 very good teams, we got down 10-2, 10-3. You know, it takes a lot of effort to get back in and get it to even, get a lead. It was great to be able to get a lead today. I thought it really engaged the crowd. I mean, I thought the Hawkeye fans were, you know, as good as I've seen them since I've been here. In particular, in that stretch in the second half defensively, when I had 3 or 4 guys at the table and guys were exhausted, but they were still fighting, sliding their feet, diving on the floor, all over the glass. And that was a big stretch in the game.
Mike, you got 10, 8, 4, and 3 out of him. Would you say that that's as complete a performance as you've seen?
Well, especially in light of the fact that he played that kind of defense as well. And we talked about that, but Mike Gazelle defensively today was absolutely spectacular. He had 3 steals, but he could have had 5 or 6. He got his hands on a lot of balls. He got some rebounds. I mean, he was really competitive.
You got any insight from the game in Michigan for getting good game plan together for how to guard Stauskas?
Well, what we did was we decided to put Marble on him. We thought that would be a better match, and he was really good.
Fran, how big was the start? Because
Huge.
Michigan doesn't fight back that often, and they haven't had a deficit, a double-digit deficit like that in very many games. But to put them in a hole early and then make them try to fight on it.
You know, it changes everything. You know, do you shoot threes? Do you not shoot threes? Do you drive it? Do you grind it? You know, when you're behind, it changes your entire approach. You know, we felt like they were going to keep coming. You know, I thought LeVert in particular, you know, he impressed me with how he mixed his game. I thought, you know, they didn't, and I wouldn't have expected them to panic and start taking crazy shots and driving into packs of people. They stayed with their offense. They make you guard their stuff. And I think typically they're able to score, but our defense today, as I said, was the best it's been. Anything short of that, they're going to keep scoring.
When your team has a shooting night from the perimeter, as it did Tuesday, and comes back with a performance like this, what was your approach in between? Did you just dismiss it altogether, or do you say keep shooting?
I always say keep shooting, Mike. It's just the way I am. I never want my guys to have any doubt in their minds that they're going to shoot the ball and it's going to go in. As far as the first part of your question specifically, our first meeting normally would be review Ohio State, review the good things and the mistakes that happened in that game. We did not do that. We agreed we did not play with the intensity level necessary to beat that team for 40 minutes. We hung around, we did some good things. Let's not talk about, hey, this was good, this was bad. It was like, move on. We know what Michigan is. They've already beaten us once. They're in first place in our league. We know who they have. All right, let's focus and lock into what do we have to do differently? What can we do better? And let's try to get performances out of more people than we had against Ohio State, which we clearly did.
Zach was one of those guys that.
Well, I brought Zach in after the after the Ohio State game. I said, I think you're pressing to do too much from the three-point line. I said, you're a good three-point shooter, but you're a good basketball player. You can post up, you can feed the post, you can handle the basketball, you can pass it. So let's maybe shoot a few less threes and shot fake drive it, throw it, move it on, make a play for somebody else. You look at his stat line, and that's who Zach McCabe is. And so I'm just thrilled for him. He had a big smile.
Did you sense desperation, and this is a positive word, desperation from your team that coming off those two losses, that they were really zeroed in, focused in on the game plan and had a bounce in their step going into this
I thought
game?
they had great focus. I in no way, shape, or form was there anything remotely close to desperation.
Fran, Marble's performance today might overshadow what Mike did. How much of what Mike did today helps Marble and White be able to have the sort of?
You're right. I mean, they help each other. I mean, you're absolutely right. When they're playing like that, when you have guard play like that, it changes everything. And in terms of everything that happens, whether we're running sets, whether we're in motion, whether we're in transition, and because you turn the ball over 14 times, which we did up there, you're not winning. You're not winning in Ann Arbor if you turn it over 14 times. I don't care what you shoot, because that's 28 points typically. And 7 turnovers, we can live with that. We had that one little stretch in the first half. We turned it over a couple times, and they scored. That's what they do. So I was proud of our team's ability to take care of the basketball.
Talk about the 50-50 ball that we got in front of their bench, and then the offensive rebound.
Well, to see how many guys were diving on the floor today, Jess, I thought was really important. That, in particular, was a big momentum play in the game, no question, because he dove on the floor, got the timeout. Very intelligent play. I thought Josh was great. I really did.
What is it about this team that you guys respond so well after losses?
I think we've been through a lot. I think we have an experienced team. We have really good guards. We have multiple players that can step up for you if somebody's not playing well. I think we have a belief in ourselves that, there's never any panic. And I think we have a willingness to look within ourselves and say, okay, what we lost, okay, we're not a group of finger pointers. They don't blame each other. They don't blame me. They look at the film and they study it and they try to get better, and they're honest with themselves. And I think if you do that, you're more likely to be able to come back and play better in the next game.
You guys have given up large leads before. And what was?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
You guys have given up large leads before this season. How much growth did it show tonight that you were able to expand on a lead instead of see it whittled away?
Well, I think it's a big step. I think you're typically more likely to do that at home. It's a little tougher on the road, but I think it was a big step for us.
Coach, the stretch of the second half where you had 4 of your starters on the bench, and you guys not only kept the lead, but you extended it. That play that Jess was talking about was included in there. Is that really the essence of your depth right there, that you can do that and extend a lead?
A lot of times when you go to your bench, you just can't wait to get those guys back in the game, and that's never the case. Rick, I just put those guys in. I see how they do. I want to stay with them. If they make mistakes, I stay with them. Eventually, I'll get them out. Typically, it's when they're tired. And Sometimes they'll play a little longer, sometimes they'll play a little less. And, you know, I felt like when I put Marble back in, I wanted them to be able to get to the wire without another rest. So I was comfortable leaving him with a lead, leave him out a little longer. Josh is doing fine. Mike was fine. Pete was solid when he was in there. And it's, you know, it's terrific to be able to have that kind of flexibility when you're sitting there trying to manage the game and you get from, say, the 15-minute mark to 12-minute mark home.
Well, you were stunned at Michigan because your bench did not play well, and
And that was one of the few times all year.
Yeah,
It really
so they
was.
responded, obviously.
You know, and it was the only time all year when I put those guys in together that none of them really produced the way they're capable of. So, you know.
Jerry, the schedule will finally come up for a little air a week between games. What are you going to do with this week?
Well, you know, we'll do a lot. I mean, I'm going to go recruiting a little bit, obviously, take advantage of that time. They need a little bit of rest, I think, no question, so we won't do anything tomorrow.
Coach?
We'll live in the training room a little bit, and then, get back to work.
Fran.
The guys will get some shots up, too.
Fran, attacking the rim today was as good as it's been, too.
You know, and I would like for that to be, you know, how we play every game. We want to be an attack the rim team, but I think we had great effectiveness when we did that today.
When Mike got into the
Jerry did, for the last couple of weeks, kind of confidence-wise, had been struggling, but he had 2 big baskets.
He was really sick in the last game. Nobody knows that, but he was not himself against Ohio State, so you can't really judge him on that game. He, in retrospect, probably shouldn't have played at all. He wanted to play, and we put him in there. He was more like himself today.
When Mike got into the paint, he didn't just absorb contact, he created it to get a shot off. Does he get enough credit for being that physical?
He's a powerful athlete. He's got great foot speed. He's got lateral quickness. He's got explosive ability to get to the rim. And you're seeing him get more and more comfortable. He has as good a mid-range pull-up jumper as I've seen. I'd like to see him mix that in a little bit more. I think now he's really a tough cover.
Coach, from the opening tip, it seemed like the guys were showing emotion more than they maybe had all year. Where did that come from?
I don't think we showed much the other night. I didn't see a lot of emotion against Ohio State. And, in these kinds of games, you have to have that, in my opinion, especially when the crowd's engaged like they were. So I think that was good to see, and I think it was very helpful.
Did you say
Two more questions. With Michigan's lack of depth, lack of size overall, did you kind of see them a little worn down, especially on the offensive glass in that second half?
I never really looked at them as not having depth. I mean, I got pretty good players coming off the bench. Not maybe quite as deep as we are, but, I look at it like this. They have multiple position players. I mean, they have guys that can literally play 3 or 4, sometimes 5 positions if they have to. So, in terms of wearing them down, we just got after them defensively and made them really work to grind their offense. And I think that's why they got worn down, more so than anything else.
So Woodbury answered the question of whether or not he could dunk.
He's had dunks before.
Yeah,
He's dunked the ball before.
Okay, Coach.